Hey America, welcome back. If it's your first time here, just welcome. If you like the content though, please be sure, like, subscribe, any of that good stuff to go with it. Certainly appreciate you giving me your time of day just to even give me a chance. Thanks guys. Now on to the juicy stuff. First things first, we're all about the good old Dr. Fauci today. And I'm sure I'm not the only one here that's more than willing and ready and just want to see that Fauci ouchie get converted to a prison term for another type of injection. If I'm not alone in this, please let me know down in the comments, because I feel pretty strongly about that. I'm going to talk about a few things here that doesn't seem to be getting really mixed up, even in the other echo chambers, any of that good stuff. Just no, for sure not in the mainstream media. Dr. Fauci's been around since 1984 as far as the director of the National Institute of We're Going to Kill People Off, or I'm sorry, what do they actually call it? It doesn't matter. And, there's been a lot of things that have grown and transformed since he's taken that. But, even looking at that fact right there, prior to 1984, the longest director of the NIH, his term was 11 years. Do you realize Dr. Fauci has been the director of the NIH for over 30, actually close to 38 years, 37 years though for sure. And he's done so much. I mean, since he's been back, AIDS really flourished. Tuberculosis, well, it's making a great comeback. And by the way, these are all things under his research and his guidance. So, let's kind of take a look at some of that really nice stuff. Let's take a look at the AIDS virus. I don't know about some of you out there, some of the younger crowd may not remember, but back in the 80s, we were always told that AIDS originated in monkeys. If you really look back in through it, the way they tried to say it, I mean, of course, what they told us as, youngsters in school was that it was from guys making out with monkeys. Okay, whatever. But if you actually get into the research back in the day, they said that it actually possibly originated from when they were making the polio vaccine. And they believed that it came from taking AIDS-infected monkeys, taking some of their go-go juice or whatever from their livers while they were developing the polio vaccine. So, and that's how they're thinking that AIDS was introduced. Ironically, the very first recorded case of AIDS or HIV was right around that time, so looks pretty bad. Kind of makes you wonder if the NIH is more of a population control center. Not trying to go all government conspiracy theory on you, but we can simply face the facts of if there wasn't some kind of population control around or going on, then, well, we'd be severely overpopulated. And they can't have people living to 110. They can't have everybody living to that age. No, why? Because, well, we'd look like China. But so I'm not in agreement with it. I don't think that it's right. I do believe that it does happen, though. If it didn't, I'd be severely surprised. But the worst part of it is if you really look through so much of this stuff, Dr. Fauci has been at the forefront of it for a ridiculous amount of time. I mean, how many people actually know what else the Wuhan Center actually over there, what they actually started investigating into? They started out looking into other forms, strains of TB, the good old tuberculosis that's been gone for years. Magical, and started making a really large comeback. Oh, good one, Fauci. And let's go a little bit farther than that. And what was tuberculosis? Oh, it was a really bad infection in the lungs, but it took a very long time to onset before, I guess that would be called the incubation period, before you would actually start noticing the problems with TB. But basically, Oh, yeah, it would fluid fill your lungs, and good chances it could kill you. Kind of sounds like some of the other diseases that, what, oh, yeah, SARS? Oh, you mean CoV-2. And if you really look at even that, I mean, SARS was a amped up version of tuberculosis. If you actually look at the science behind it, that's what it was. If you want to go and fast forward a few years, we're going to go and take a look at, the new one, the COVID-19. And, they really, if you just go looking at the WHO and their standards and their reasons for naming things like this, well, it's all because of the shape of the strain or because the way it was discovered or something to that effect. They never actually just hit on the fact of, well, SARS. What year did it actually hit and start tearing everything up? That was in 2003. Kind of makes sense that it would have been probably developing in 2002. Oh, CoV-2. Coincidence, I'm sure. Unless we go on up to where we had this really large, horrible pandemic here recently, as they call it. It was in 2020, though. And that's when, millions of people... Oh, wait a minute. It came out in 2019, though. And that's probably when it was developed. What a coincidence. COVID-19. CoV-2. Surely these aren't names for things of when it was discovered of how to transmit it to humans. And surely they weren't trying to figure out ways back in the day to transmit AIDS to humans. They would have never done that, would they? Well, the picture's starting to look a little bit more clear, and when you look at it a little bit farther here, maybe that's what Dr. Fauci is so good at, is either A, developing these new strains that don't even look like they came from a lab, look like they came from an animal. Or maybe he's just been really good at hiding other things or keeping his mouth shut about the reason that they're done. Either way, now the proof's in the pudding and the proof is out that Dr. Fauci knew exactly what was going on. That's no longer a question. He knew that they were developing COVID-19 so they could be transmitted from one species to another. The other species that it would be transmittable to was for humans. What other reason would there be? Gain of function research could only serve two purposes, period. You're either A, planning on attacking somebody with chemical warfare, or B, you're using this for population control. And if you really take a deeper look at it, let's take a look at the fact of who does it seem to affect? Well, it affects the people that have the highest impact on health care cost. Now, who is the people that pays the government the most money and buys off the government the more than anybody else? Oh, that's right. It's your health care systems. So who actually benefits from older people dying off? People with diabetes, people that are obese. Doesn't really affect young people all that much. The young, healthy ones. It only seems to affect the older and sickly ones. I can't even begin to imagine who would be benefiting from that. Surely not the people that are having to dish out money for the health care for these people because they're covering them through insurance. Surely these people would not benefit from not having to pay out all of that. Surely there wouldn't be incentives like hospitals getting paid ridiculous amounts of money for each COVID case that they had. That wouldn't be any incentive to spike your numbers at all. No, I guess not. I guess I'm just completely wrong once again. But Anthony Fauci, you belong in prison. If for no other reason, you're caught. You are running a population control scam. And you're caught. You're busted. It's time. And I mean, let's look at the bright side for him. He's not going to have to spend more than 2.5, 3 years in jail, because we all know that the instant that Biden gets voted out of office, what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. He's going to give old Fauci a full pardon. You bet your ass. So, America, wake up. Look at what's going on. Put the math together. You really want to get crazy on it? Look back at one simple thing that they have left out of the news. And I know you've all heard about the 3 people that got sick over at the Wuhan lab and went to hospitals. And you know, this one died. That one nearly died. You know what? The one thing they never managed to mention in all of that? That all 3 of them also tested positive for tuberculosis. Well, how weird is that? Surely they didn't leave the lab with an underdeveloped enzyme? I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. There's plenty of information out there on this. You just got to start digging. Just start looking for keywords. Go out there and look for Fauci. Go out there and look for how many years he's been serving at the NIH. Go out there and look for the actual full results of the people that were found there in Wuhan and what actually happened with them. It's actually, the worst part about it, they throw it in your face. The CDC shows the actual records for all of this. They don't even try to hide it. I mean, at least if you go to the WHO, at least they try to make it out to be fake, but surely it has nothing to do with the fact that they're trying to cover for China. I don't care. I'll say that, you know, maybe Trump was a pompous asshole, but I think he was on to something there when he started talking about it may have came from China. And I think you people need to start looking into this a little bit farther yourselves. Questioning it. Because it's out there. It's real. It's what's happening. When cancer and other natural causes aren't enough to keep the population under control, they use other sources. And even Dr. Fauci himself at one point stated that one of the reasons for the uprise in tuberculosis and other cases in the United States was because of the uprise and the free let 'em in way that our country was ran. And I'll grant you, this was several years back, definitely prior to the Biden administration, prior to the Trump administration. But that was the reason, was before any of that even came to light, he said that, well, it's because the influx of the immigrants that are coming across with the HIV virus, with tuberculosis. Well, when you're talking about at least one disease that had been damn near gone, magically making a comeback, one has to really wonder why. And also, now that we have this new killer tuberculosis that is resistant to medications and everything else, like COVID. Wow. And what was one of the first things that Fauci recommended for treatment of COVID patients? Oh, that's right. He wanted to try and give them the same medications that tuberculosis patients were on. Why? Because he knew what it was. And even though he's a criminal out there killing people, the man still wants to be the hero in somebody's eye. It's time for him not to be. America, thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for being with me. And I hope you go out, do some of this research on your own. If you find something I missed, throw it in the comments. You got a question about anything I've said here? Throw it in the comments. I'll give you directions to exactly where I got my information from. Thanks again, America, and goodbye.